Hello and welcome, fellow mates, to the Experiences, a podcast. Thank you to all the students who are dedicated to learning and growing with us. My name is Sujit, a student at Acadia and the host of this podcast. First, before diving into the subject matter, I would like to give you a quick hint on why we have started this podcast. We've noticed that after the pandemic, we are all changed. We hardly notice or be curious about someone else's life, experiences, or stories. In fact, we barely connect with other students like we used to. Maybe this is our coping mechanism. However, I feel this is a barrier. This barrier is moving us in different direction where the humanity ends. So I came up with this podcast where we connect with different people in and outside of the university, which will foster our growth of knowledge when we take a sneak peek into someone's life experiences and squeeze some of the crucial life lessons and some exciting and breathtaking questions. So, before moving on to the main gist of our episode today, I would like to mention a brief quote by Sadhguru. So what he says is, the spirituality has nothing to do with the atmosphere you live in. It's all about the atmosphere you create within yourself. It's a very beautiful quote and it really makes sense. Our today's talk will be based on the same idea that when we enhance the atmosphere within ourselves, life will be beautiful. Now, without any further delay, I would like to welcome our speaker. Our speaker is highly interested in breathing and healing practices and is a fantastic speaker, fantastic personality with a great sense of perception. I can remember the first day when I saw him in my philosophy class. He used to sit in the back seat and ask some amazing questions. It was really interesting listening to him. When we first introduced each other, I immediately got the realization that he was something special. Please help me welcome my friend, Jonah Appleton. Thank you, Jonah, for coming here in the podcast, and it's a pleasure for me to welcome you here.
Thank you for having me here.
I hope all the students would get some insight from you today. How are you doing, buddy? Let's just start with that.
Today, I'm doing very good actually.
Good to hear that.
Yeah.
In this world now where people are just hustling and doing just focusing on their work without caring about their health, and especially without even noticing how our system functions with air,
Right.
runs, right? And how do you think that breathing plays a role in our life? How important is it?
Well, of course, it's essential to every biological process in the body, but I think it's actually pretty popular nowadays. I think that a lot of people are more aware of the importance of good breathing posture and focusing on modulating their breath in different ways to kind of leverage it towards different activities in their life. But maybe still not as popular as it should be. So, yeah, definitely good to spread awareness on that, because I think that a lot of people find it very helpful once they kind of learn about it. Yeah.
Do you think that we have to notice it every time when we walk, when we sit, and is it good to do that?
I don't think it's important to pay attention to your breathing all the time, but I think that it's definitely a good focal point if you want to focus on something other than your thoughts or other sensations that you might be experiencing within your interoceptive awareness or within the environment. So it's not necessary, but it can definitely be a good kind of focal point for focusing the mind during a number of activities.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Except not driving.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's an amazing point, brother. So how do you think that a normal person can practice breathing and start noticing it and make it something that will elevate their life and make things easier, right?
Yeah, so I think that for most people, the best, like, there's different styles of breath work you can do. They all kind of have a different effect on your nervous system. For most people, I think the best like entry method of breath work would be something kind of like called like water breathing or like box breathing.
Can you explain that more?
Yeah, that would be like something that's more a little bit slower than your regular breathing rate, but not so slow or so fast that it's going to have a very dramatic effect on affecting your nervous system. It's more of just like a overall balancing effect. So this can be done like in the morning or midday or even at night. It can be done pretty much any time of the day, and kind of like the method for that is just kind of like breathing through your nose, or you could do it through your mouth, but there's a variety of reasons to breathing through your nose for like around 4 seconds, or kind of just like however long it takes you to do a comfortable in-breath, starting with the diaphragm and like kind of bringing it up into the ribs as you go, and then like just kind of breathing out for around the same time. So like an example would be like, and you don't have to do it that loud sometimes, but there is ways you can do it quietly, so that way if you're in public and you don't want people to look at you weird, you can do it. But overall, that kind of that rate, I forget exactly how many breaths per minute it is. This is something I do know, but like I did learn while I was doing my breathwork course that I'm doing, but I forget how many breaths per minute it is. But it's overall just it doesn't have a very excitatory effect on the nervous system. It doesn't have a very inhibitory effect on the nervous system, or like engaging your parasympathetic or sympathetic branch more. It kind of just, wherever you are, if you're like a little bit jittery, like let's say for example, like you're about to go into an exam and like your sympathetic tone is like kind of getting a bit like out of hand, this will bring you down. Whereas like if it's first thing in the morning and like you're very sleepy, this will kind of like bring you back up to baseline too. So for beginners, I would recommend that. And then there's other types of breathing you can get into, but it's kind of, that's a good starting point. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we can practice breathing whenever we are feeling like we're stressed, we're anxious, and it is not necessary to practice breathing every time, right?
I would say so. Yeah.
Okay, start.
Yeah.
So Jonah, I've noticed that students are stressing over the exams, and many of my friends are telling me that they are having really stressful time with all these midterms and all the assignments plus group work. They are telling me that group work is one of the most anxious thing they have ever faced, and it is very hard to study at this time and to focus on the exams and perform at greater level. So what do you think are the essential practices that we can do other than the breathing that would help the students calm down and just relax and focus on their work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's kind of a number of like things I focus on these days. I find that help me a lot with like my attention and my ability to approach studying and approach learning with like a greater capacity, I think. So one thing, starting with like the most basic thing, would be sleep. A lot of times it's hard to get good quality sleep, and I understand that because I also struggle too. But when you can, first, one big thing is when you can get out early in the day and you can get sunlight when it's sunny, and if not, when you exercise early in the day. So if you exercise like before afternoon, that also helps to regulate your sleep. So that's something I try to do every day. 4 days a week I lift weights, usually around like noon, for maybe like an hour. And on other days, I usually walk every day, but if I'm not lifting weights, I usually do like 30 or 40 minutes of walking, and I like try and walk at the most fast pace that I can. So yeah, sleep, exercising early in the day, diet, really important. I think that making sure that you eat enough like fiber and protein, especially early in the day, really helps like to like keep your blood sugar levels stable, helps to like keep you full, and all those things can help you focus better. So that way, like those early morning classes, instead of like eating like some really sugary snack, like if you eat like some oatmeal, for example, or like eggs, some protein, it helps to like help you maintain your focus, like regulate your metabolism better, so that you're like able to like kind of sit still and focus on what you're doing. So yeah, staying well hydrated, important for your brain function. And those are the main things. Yeah, just checking in with yourself, seeing where you are. I mean, if you can if all those things can like kind of be like dialed in, I find that it puts me in the right state of mind to approach learning, and that way I can really deeply focus on the lectures. And when I focus deeply on the lectures, it prevents me having to backpedal later on and go back and learn things I didn't learn as I went. Because when you learn things in increments and you really pay attention to your professor, that information, you retain it much better. So
I've noticed that, and I feel like that's completely true. And when we focus on the lectures from the beginning, we don't have to stress out that much when we come near the examination part. So that's a really good tips. Probably many people know about this tip, but may not have realized it.
Yeah.
So
the last thing I would say is also like about the sleep, like really kind of like really putting a large focus on like relaxing at night, especially once the sun is down. That way, like you can entrain your circadian rhythm properly. But for that reason, I try and do most of my studying earlier in the day, so that I'm not like just like really intently and closely like at night. And also using the breath work at night to help fall asleep, you can kind of increase your out breath. So like instead of like the type of breathing that I described earlier, which is like 4-4 in out rhythm, you can breathe in for 4 and then breathe out for 8 seconds, or basically as long as possible. And that type of breathing really engages your parasympathetic nervous system more, which is the rest and digest branch of your nervous system. So it really helps, at least in my experience, I find it really, really helps to lower your heart rate, and like it really calms you down. I find when I do that for a few rounds, it helps me. So
I've also tried that. I don't usually count for the seconds, but my breathing would also be similar to that of yours.
Yeah.
And
so those are the main things for me.
Yes, I also really like the idea that you should sleep according to the natural cycle.
Yeah.
I've also read in some historical books, there's religious scriptures that when we sleep, when the bird sleeps, and when we wake up with the bird, we perform at the maximum level.
Yeah.
This is of course true. I have a practice by myself, and he is also practicing.
Well, it's not the same for everyone. I mean, I don't wake up at 5 a.m. like you do. I think that.
But still.
I think the main rule of thumb, I think, is to try and get to sleep before midnight. I don't think it's that strict. I just think that before midnight, I think that it helps you get more high, like quality REM sleep. I could be wrong.
Exactly.
But I think that it helps. I think that most of the REM sleep occurs early in the night.
Exactly.
So
let me back it up with some data from our science that from 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock at the night, we have the highest quality of sleep, which is called REM sleep. So if you sleep early and wake up early, then you won't have any problem. Some people say that, oh, no, Sujit, I'm not an early bird, right? I'm not an early bird. I cannot wake up early, but it really depends on the quality of sleep.
Yeah. Also, meditation isn't the same as sleep, but it can also benefit some of the same areas that sleep can. Not the same, but if you're really tired, it can help you to like maintain your focus better. So afterwards.
That's an amazing answer by Jonah. So, do you think that other than sleep, let's move on to the again state of being present.
Yeah.
Do you think that being present now here in this moment helps you with the stress?
Yeah.
Do you think that?
I definitely think so. I think that I used to be someone who was very not present, very anxious, and since I kind of discovered through various learning experiences that there really isn't much benefit, unless you're a philosopher or I don't know, physicist, to really doing. I mean, of course, your mind is a tool. I mean, it's important for studying. It's important for visualizing things, for planning things. Yeah. But if your mind is enslaving you into patterns of negative thinking that really have no clear benefit, it's not actually really contributing to your success in any way. So I think my kind of philosophy now is think when I have to, and otherwise just do and try and be present. So yeah, I think for sure helps to maintain those mental resources for when you actually need them. Yeah.
That's an amazing answer, and I also practice the same. I don't know why
Yeah.
we practice very
Yeah.
similar kind of things,
Yeah.
and it really works when you don't worry about all the things
Yeah.
that are in the future. That's gonna affect you, of course. That will
Well,
affect you, but you don't worry now. You work with one task at hand. What you have
Yeah.
now.
Not that this is an easy thing to do anyway. I don't find it easy, but I do find that when I can do it, it's helpful.
Sometimes when I even can't do that one thing at hand, I just let my body and mind relax for a while.
And the things I mentioned before, like, you know, exercising, like, you know, using breathwork as a way to like regulate nervous system activity, whatever, sleeping well, all these things I think really help your brain function properly and the body, and as a result, you're probably less likely to to have a lot of anxious thinking, depending on the person and their condition. But for most healthy individuals, all those things can be really helpful. So, yeah, starts there.
That's an amazing answer by Jonah. Thank you so much for coming in this podcast and giving some information that are very helpful for the students right now, especially at this time when this is like a very stressful time for the students. And me myself is also really stressed because I handle a lot of things in my life. So thank you so much for shedding light in this area. Thank you so much, John.
For sure.
You have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
So this is the end of the podcast here. Next time we will return with another interesting content with our exciting guest speaker who has always been fascinated by poems and literatures. If you have any exciting content that you would like to share with other people at the university, please feel free to contact me. I have an email address and it will be in the screen below. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye, adios, au revoir.